What time is it? It's time for another Every Other Wednesday.
What were you going to say, Jeff?
What's the question of the day? I'm just
So
prompting.
the question is this. All right, so I know for most it's just finished spring break, but the question is, where would you like to go? Not necessarily where are you going, but where would you like to go on your summer vacation this year? Just put that in the chat and we'll see what are some cool places that you have aspirations to go.
I'm going to Maui. I've told you guys, right? I'm going to Maui
You do that
because
all the time, though.
I'm going to be I do not. I've only been there twice. So, but I am going to be a grandfather of a child, a
Yes.
grandson who's to be born in Maui. So, yay, Maui. Thanks, Connie.
Yes, that's great. It is.
Oh, she
it
wants
is
to go to
nice
Maui
have...
too. Or does she want to go with me, Connie?
Well,
ask her, Connie, are you any good at changing diapers?
Yeah, exactly.
There are some advantages to having offspring who live in exotic locations, aren't there, Jeff?
Yes.
Yes,
some.
But let me say this too.
Linda's going to Rome with her grandsons. That's
there
cool.
are some disadvantages to having offspring too. Period.
Exactly.
I think we can all speak to that.
Bora Bora
would like to go to James would like to go to Bora Bora.
Yeah, it's so nice they named it twice. So.
All right.
Like New York, New York.
Okay, Jeff, you're getting congratulated on your impending grandfatherhood.
Thank you, Connie. I appreciate it. Yeah. You wouldn't know by this young face that I could be.
Oh no, I know, yeah.
There's a famous Homer Simpson line who says, you know, I have 3 kids and no money. 1, 3 monies and no kids.
Got it. And Rob,
all right.
You just gave away our surprise guest.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think everyone can see.
Anna, would you mind doing this, please?
Rob, where are you going on vacation? Rob has a long way to go from anywhere. To go anywhere.
Right.
I think he's going to go to Alaska for vacation.
No, I'd like to do that. Hey, why don't we go ahead and get started? We've got a nice big, hell, he's going to Thailand soon. Yep. Wow.
Nice.
Okay. Right, we got a good crowd forming here. So folks, welcome everyone to Every Other Wednesday. We don't have Mike Kerr here with us today, and he is our date master, but I will tell you that where I am, it is April the 16th, 2025. And I hope it's that same date everywhere else. So we're going to go ahead and get started because we've got a lot to cover today. We do have a returning guest with us, and we're going to introduce Anna Wildman in just a few minutes. But Sanjay, why don't you introduce yourself, then Jeff, then me, and then I'll introduce Anna.
And we shall. My name is Sanjay Nath, and I'm based in Canada, just outside of Toronto. I am a speaker and author focusing on performance and leadership, and get together with these yahoos every other week and discuss organizational culture issues, hopefully in a fun and entertaining way, trying to create value for our lovely guests. Jeff.
You're such a suck up, but okay, I got it. Anyway, I'm Jeff Tobe, and I am located in beautiful Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I speak about customer experience, how to make the leap from customer service to customer experience. Also an author like these guys, and always excited to be here. Richard.
Great, thanks. I'm Richard Haddon, and I'm an author and speaker. I wrote Contented Cows Still Give Better Milk and All of Its Relatives. And I live in Jacksonville, Florida. At the moment, I'm in Houston, Texas, and always delighted to be here with all of you too. So let me take a few minutes to reintroduce our returning guest host. Some of you may have been on the episode or seen the episode where Anna Wildman was with us earlier. I think it was about a year and a half ago or so. But let me just tell you that Anna Wildman, and you will understand this, you will not be surprised when you hear her speak. She is an English woman and she lives in England. She has a fascinating background. She's a former Royal Navy Lieutenant Commander with warfare specialization, so watch out. After her military career, she joined KPMG in leadership and development, first in China, then as a global director, and she was leading the skills program for KPMG across 142 countries, which is just about all of them. She's the creator of the Cedar feedback model based on observing thousands of real-life conversations. She is author of the book called Now You're Talking, the Manager's Complete Handbook to Leading Great Conversations at Work, even the tough ones. And she's a committee member for development of the ISO 30442, the International Performance Management Standard. And she is just an all-around delightful person and friend. And so welcome, Anna Wildman.
Thank you so
Welcome.
much.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
welcome.
Super to be here.
She's joining us today from her lovely home on the south coast of the UK, where it is many hours from sunset, even though it's late in the day there.
It's also
So-
very warm there right now. So,
Yes, beautiful.
and not,
weather.
and by the looks of the sunshine, it's not even raining. That's all I think about when I think of England. So,
Yeah, it's that one day, Jeff, where
Yeah.
we just got it's summer today,
I
and
got
tomorrow it'll be autumn.
exactly.
And
I
rather than go out and enjoy it, she's donating it to us. So we're
That's
very
right.
grateful.
Thank you. I neglected to mention that in addition to all the other things that Anna has done, what she does now is she runs her own leadership skills company. And as I said, she's based on the south coast of the UK. And a lot of her work deals with the content, the topic of her book. And so a lot of it has to do with conversation. So we're just going to jump right into some things, and we've got a few questions.
Yeah. So before I ask a question, Anna, I want to ask you just in general, you're now dealing with leaders in every aspect of corporations, I'm sure. I don't know if you're still in the government or working with armed services, but what's the one common thread in your work between all businesses, big and small? Because we have all sizes of businesses represented here. What would you say is the one common thread?
That's such a great question, and I'd say it's changed very slightly over the last 12 months. And I don't know what everybody listening feels, but we have all spent many years, and yourselves included, saying human communication matters. And with the fantastically fast acceleration of AI, now it really does. Now more than ever, that actually is being justified to say you need to be able to make connection with people, whether they're internal, external clients or whatever. I don't know. I've just been blown away by how quickly that has become. So I was talking with KPMG's now head of L&D, who is in the role I used to have. And she said, these conversations are so important that we're calling conversations with our people client zero communication. They are our client zero, our internal people. So I don't know, what is this what you're seeing and sensing?
I'm certainly hearing AI in almost every conversation, and I think people are still trying to sort out in what ways is it useful, is it helpful, what do we need to watch out for, how should we get the best out of it and not get the worst out of it.
I'm doing a lot of work with government agencies. Sorry, doing a lot of work with government agencies. Also the Navy over here, and so AI right now is kind of a really touchy subject because obviously with confidentiality and things like that, it's where are we going and how much will we accept? Sorry, Sanjay.
But it's so Sanjay, what do you think? Because I'm seeing it not as about focusing on AI, but it actually is driving our attention towards the human element. So the more that we have to worry about these questions, the more we have to actually say the human communication matters and these conversations matter. Sanjay, is that something you see?
I 100% agree with that. I think that history repeats itself. We keep seeing the same thing over and over again. Let's look at the internet. There were reluctant people. Oh, we can't put our online business, or we're banks, we're government, we can't do that. Or go before that, telephone. You can't have a telephone. You're not gonna have face-to-face interaction. Fax machine, whatever it was. People keep going. It's going to replace humans. It doesn't. It never replaces humans. You need to be able to have those conversations. And even at its core, the AI is developed by human beings. And although it's AI, it's not really AI. It's programmed accordingly, and it's programmed based on a set of axioms and values that we input as human beings. So if we
come from nowhere, it came from somewhere, and that somewhere is humans.
Right. So we're always going to need that human touch. Now, what that human touch is, it's different. There are people who hug, and there are people who keep their distance. Right. if you're using the personality of an Elon Musk versus an Oprah Winfrey, you know, some people can resonate more with one or the other. Not that one is right or one is wrong, but you need to be able to understand what are the, you know, I'm a math guy. What is the probability? If we want to increase communication, if we want to have people buy in, we want to have a better organizational culture, by doing these things, there is a higher percentage, a higher likelihood that people will buy in. Doesn't mean everyone, there's no universal solution, there's no magic wand, but we're looking at the highest probability to get the results we're looking for.
So Anna, what have you discovered in your work about these conversations being problematic? I can't speak today. I just finished 4 hours of training, so these guys are going to give me a little bit of slack. But problematic in the workplace if they're not managed skillfully.
So there's, and again, everybody listening in will be on top of this because they're experiencing it. But there's much less loyalty. I don't have to work for you. I can move on. So a lot of what I try and do is to show that the conversations need to engage people. They need to be two-way. They need to allow people the opportunity to take responsibility for their own work. All these kind of dynamics, but I'm sure everybody's experiencing that too.
And so,
and you were saying last time that you and I were talking about just kind of the whole issue that, you know, that people disagree, people see things from a different point of view, and that might be a little bit of the genesis or the root of some of your work, and that is that people do see things differently, and it creates the need for these conversations because otherwise they can devolve into argument. Can you say something a little bit about that?
Sure. So so the one conversation that people that comes up more than any other in the managing people workshops that I do is the difficult conversations. It's the how do I give people bad news? How do I, all the way from developmental feedback through to sort of firing somebody, and do that with skill, and then that helps me feel calm and treat people with respect. I put together a quick number of various bits and pieces that were around this. Let me see if I can share this. Got a bumblebee decided to join me. So let's pop this up and let's see if this happens.
I think you can.
We can see it.
Is that all good? So just in terms of the one question that I tend to ask, and I don't know whether you can see that with it, but there's 10 smiley faces, there's 9 smiley faces and 1 non-smiley.
Yeah.
And I ask people, what is the impact of the non-smiley face if it's 1 out of 10 on you? And I ask audiences, you know, how does that feel for you if you get some sort of developmental negative feedback? I don't know if people would like to put a percentage in the chat.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So what's the question specifically?
How much out of 100% does the non-smiley face have on you? What percentage would you say that has as an influence in how you react?
If it were proportional, it would be 10%, but it's probably more than that. So come on, audience, what's your number? Oh yeah, okay, we're getting 40, 80, yeah.
Yeah. It's almost always more than 10%, although someone gave me 10% a couple of weeks ago. But there's a number of different reasons for that. I don't know if I can't not got the chat up. So, but in terms of what causes that threat, there's a number of things, and always, of course, the manager relationship comes top, and making a mistake threatens our self-esteem. I feel smaller, less certain. If anybody's come across David Rock's SCARF model, that sums up this self-esteem, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness type approach. But it impacts on me. But there's a couple of others, which is people do see the world differently, and there's a lot of chat about the difference in generations, about how they approach work, and of course that's subject of many of your conversations. of course, and we're going to have a look at this, under and overinflated egos get in the way. People assign the cause differently. So if I do something well, I will say it's because I worked hard. If something doesn't go well, I'll say, wow, the circumstances were really difficult. So we tend to sort of defend ourselves by assigning that cause internally or externally, depending on how well it went. But I love this next one, which is people judge
Before
themselves on. Yes, please go ahead.
before you go on to that, I just want to say,
Yeah.
as professional speakers, I think it depends also on what you do for a living in the workplace. Because as professional speakers, we focus on that one person. That is like 100%, because that's the person that's not happy with what we're saying right now. And so it just seems that it can also be situational. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
I
I
relate to that 100%.
It's all situational, though, right? Because I mean, in the context of we have so much of our own baggage, we put it through everything. Like, let's hypothetically pretend I don't like Jeff. And if I don't like Jeff and Jeff is acting like a jerk, I go, what a jerk. That's why I don't like him. But if Jeff's being really nice, I go, see, he's up to something. I don't trust him. I don't like him. So it doesn't matter what he does. I've already come to the table with my prejudgment. So, don't confuse me with the facts. My mind is made up.
Yeah. That's such a great point about giving feedback, isn't it? Because you come to the conversation with that baggage of what you think that person is like, which it really colors it, and it's quite hard to let go. But we're going to have a look at this in a minute. People judge themselves on their intentions, which is I meant it to go well. Most people don't deliberately make mistakes, so ease up on me a little bit, and that's a really useful one to keep in front of mind. And of course, there's the Dunning-Kruger effect. This people think they're better than they are because they don't know any different. This one.
Yeah.
You
so well put.
You give yourself a score, and then you ask your colleagues the same question and see what they score. Sure.
Yeah, and you just can't put it any clearer than that. People think they're better than they are. It's a shame, but it's true.
Okay, so Anna, this is what you do. You help managers have these difficult conversations. So if I could be generic and to go up from a 10,000 feet, what would be, in general, what do you find is most helpful for them to hear?
So it depends on the conversation, and we've picked out 3 here, and I just wanted to mention that because we were chatting about 3 that would be good, and if we can get round to them all, but each has a nuance to it. But in terms of giving managers the confidence and skill that they need, there's 2 things that they need, and one is they need a rough structure through the conversation. They need to say, where do I start? How do I keep moving through? And the second thing they need, and Richard, we were talking about this, is examples of the words that work. So there's tons and tons of guidance out there saying, here's a list of do's and don'ts. But what they don't do, of course, is give you examples that you can then adapt to your own situation.
And that's what I find really helpful and useful. And because we all see things in our own perspective, I think everybody sees it that way. Yeah. Oh, So structure and examples of actual words that work. Right.
So just a pathway through that will help me navigate. And then don't make me follow a script, but do give me a sort of opening, because that trajectory, whatever it is you say first, if I sit down in front of you and you're going to give me bad news, I am watching, and we are all watching, and how that's going to go is set right at the very start. So that opening really matters.
Let me ask you, first of all, I checked the archives, and in 112 episodes, we've never had anybody use PowerPoint. So congratulations.
Sorry.
No,
It's very
don't be
old
sorry.
school.
That's memorable that way. So,
I have some more if you could put up with it. But
all right, no problem.
Yeah.
But what part does empathy play in all this? I mean, I hear you saying there has to be structure, there has to be the words that work, but there's that human element to this discussion as well.
Yeah, I think we should go back to Sanjay. Sanjay, after what he said about, you come with a baggage around that because um, empathy, and if you follow any of Brené Brown's work, empathy is such a valuable thing to demonstrate. And I mean, so many people on this call have got kids, of course, and I think if you come in too hard, too fast, you can't backtrack. But if you leave yourself an opening and you come in gently, you can always get tougher. You can always set clearer boundaries. You can always say, what about this? But if you don't have that empathy, oh my gosh, you can't then sort of rewind, can you? What do you think?
Yeah, you can't unsay things, can you?
That's
Yeah.
the old toothpaste example we talked about before.
Yeah.
Squeeze the toothpaste out, it comes out really quickly. Putting it back in is a real pain. So
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
easy for me
well,
to say
Anna,
when I think of Richard, but
so thinking about all that, I mean, I'm a real fan of the book and of oilandtheengine.com, which is Anna's website. You've got tons of really specific conversation guides in the book and on your website for people to download and look at. Can you pick out of all of those, can you pick out maybe 2 or 3 that you think are particularly interesting and helpful? And then maybe we can just go a deep dive into a couple of those.
Well, bearing in mind that so many of us are sort of HR specialists,
Yeah.
and the time that I was in KPMG, we were often asked, as soon as a conversation had the threat of being tough, we were asked to lead it. So we were asked to pass on secondhand feedback from someone, and you have very little data about what's going on, and you have to sit down with someone and say, well, here's the message, and that's a really tough one. So I wondered if that would be a good place to start in terms of a look at passing on secondhand feedback. So Jeff, I'm about to inflict you again. You can tell me to speed up if necessary, but so let's have a look. Oh yeah, I just use this story when I do workshops. This is an actual picture. I can almost see where this happened from where I live, just outside Southampton, and no one was killed, but she went over. And I used to work in the dockyard there, so I knew this area really well. And this was a ship carrying all sorts of wonderful vehicles and diggers, but mostly luxury cars going to the Middle East. And here's how they all ended up. They just smashed into each other. And so quite often I say, what do you think caused this to folk? And I'm not expecting anybody on the call or anybody in the classrooms to be specialists in seamanship or navigation or whatever, but there's always a range of different reasons behind what might have caused the ship to go over, and nearly all of them took place. So I put them together on a slide to say there were problems with the communication, there were problems with the vessel, there were problems with industry standards, and so on. And it's to say, back up here a little. If something's gone wrong, it's not usually one single cause. If it is, then so be it. But usually there's a lot more going on around it. So have a think about what is going on for the individual and have a chat with them about that. And let go a little bit. If there was one piece of advice I think I would wished I knew 30, maybe 40 years ago now, it is to say any conversation around feedback is not you having to tell someone a fact. It is about creating insight for them so that they can make choices. Now, part of that might be saying, what will happen if you don't do something, to alert them to different actions. But it is about saying, a feedback conversation is to create that insight. And so I put together this model, and some of the team looking at it will have seen this before, but it is the Cedar steps and it is the navigation to follow. There's tons of really great feedback models out there, but this one says do this, do this, do this, and see what you think. So the first one is set the context, as the graphic shows, which is, how big is this? Does it really matter? Because, is it Is every piece the same? Next one is they don't want vague generalizations. Your team wants specifics. Exactly what is it that you're telling me I did? So have a couple of specifics. Then this piece, which is the diagnosis, this goes back to the ship. It's to say, what is behind this? What are the reasons? And we switch in then to saying, asking for their insights. What do they think? So that it switches from a discussion to being an ask series. So what do they think? What would they like to do about that? And when would they like to follow up with you? And let them choose those three things. And it doesn't mean don't make suggestions. Absolutely make suggestions. Just ask first, if that makes sense. So I put this into the dynamic of this passing on secondhand feedback, because if you're passing on secondhand feedback, you have an incredible luxury. May not feel like it, but you have a luxury of not being the person who is responsible for doing the telling. You have an ability to ask questions and practice these skills and get someone to reflect. So if I was that person and you were sitting down with me and saying, Anna, I've got a piece of feedback to pass on, use this, but just use as many questions as you can to guide me. So I put it into, again, the CEDAR, which is to say, if you can, frame it in positive. So frame it as a suggestion. So-and-so said, might be helpful for you to be able to do more of this or less of that or whatever it is. And then give some specifics. Now, you can only do that if you've got them. So actually ask, what are the specifics from your point of view? I wasn't there. Then ask them what they think the reasons were, and then what they might like to do about it. So what do you want to do next? And it's the perfect scenario to be able to sit back and not practice your skills at not doing the telling. And how should we follow up? So I don't know if anybody wants to put any questions in the chat around that, but that would, I'll just go back up to that a bit. What do you all think? Any suggestions that you would add?
I'm curious, is it sequential, or do we jump in any natural conversation? We can jump around, right? So, here are some examples. What do you think of the reasons behind this? And then, oh yeah, I thought of some other examples. So is it that static that it's step by step?
What's your feeling about that, Jeff, as you say it?
Well, I feel like that it is not, that there is flexibility to jump around as long as we get to each one of those strategies.
So here's what I might say, and I don't want to be too sort of to have too tight a set of guidelines, but people do need to know what you're going to talk about. So give them the sense of, is this
the C would definitely need to start with the C, wouldn't it?
Just open up, yeah, and then that naturally usually covers the examples. Now the difficulty with examples is if you've got someone who's pushing back, and you only give one, and they push back, then you've got to give another, and then they'll push back, and then you give another, and it feels like whack-a-mole, as you call it over there, or beat the frog. And my suggestion is put them together so you see the picture, because otherwise people just kind of feel like you're just you're giving me another one, and why are you giving me another one when I already dealt with it? So my suggestion is actually the examples more than anything needs to be grouped so that I see the picture.
Carol, and then an interesting point in the chat, which it jumped into my head as well, which says, when examples are given, most people have this tendency to explain it. Oh, that was because of this. Oh, and then that one was because of that. And so how do we combat that?
Well, especially because as you said earlier, Anna, you weren't there. You're simply passing on the message.
Yeah. And they might just say, well, it's just their perception. It was fine, or whatever it is. So then you've got a slightly different dynamic, which is to say, if these are grouped together, that creates a perception that there's a something useful we could do to help you in this area. So if there's 3 or 4 examples saying, well, if these are tough and they're not related, let's look at what would be useful to avoid some of these individually not happening again. But if they do form a sort of pattern, what pattern would you say that was, and where could we help avoid them in the future? Because this is about it's being tough for you as the feedback
Yeah,
receiver.
I'm hearing a lot of the word help, that it
Yeah.
really is about helping them, not beating them up over the head. Yeah.
And also hearing it's not pointed. You're doing this. You shouldn't do that. It's like, how can we move forward? And looking for suggestions and openness, and it's not directed.
Yeah.
So Sanjay, if you were doing it with me and I say, oh, that's my perception, what you might say is, well, you're passing on feedback from Richard. If that is Richard's perception, what do you think caused that, and how might you change his perception?
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I mean, you're just acknowledging, yes, it's not necessarily my perception. It is definitely Richard's perception. And so let's put it in that context. I like that.
In some ways, changing a perception is an easier thing to do than changing a reality, of course. But there you are. That's another conversation. So I'm going to rock it on, unless I'm not following chat. So if you could pick it up, but I'm going to sort of rock it on and just have a look.
Yeah,
so
there's another one I think we want to look at, right?
We do. And we've borrowed Sanjay's acting talents for this one, haven't we, Sanjay? So we thought we'd look at how you manage diva behavior. And
I saw that. I just said,
in Canada, in Canada, they call that Sanjay behavior. So, go ahead.
Do you want to frame this one, Richard, or should we just dive in?
Yeah,
what's your feeling?
I think, when we say diva, that could be almost anything, but I think we've all probably seen somebody who says, okay, so I'm in part of a work group, but I'm one of the smartest people I know. I have all these degrees and great certifications and so forth, and I really do kind of know a lot. And so you're kind of lucky to have me on the team here, and I will kind of put up with some things, but let's just be clear of the position that I hold on this team. And some people, without saying that explicitly, kind of come across that way. So that's kind of the diva, and I think they expect a little bit special treatment. They expect not to have to go through all of the same things that others do. I mean, is that kind of, Anna, how you see the diva?
Especially in some lines of business where there's, really specialist skills. I mean, I was in the Navy and on board an aircraft carrier, the F-35 pilots were, they were just gold and so on, and how you get them to do normal duties. So, but we're looking at sort of more routine examples than that. And so let's have a go. I might need to phone a friend or ask the audience to let's have a bash at this, and let me know what you think.
Yeah. So just for the context, I will be playing the role of diva. We have not practiced this. We have not planned this. We're going to see where it goes.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to shoot from the hip here, Sanjay. So thanks so much for coming. And actually, let me just bump this up a tiny bit. I need to have had a relationship with you. This can't be the first time we've ever spoken. If you've got these gilded individuals on your team, make sure that you do don't get so intimidated by that you avoid them. You do need to have a relationship. So Sanjay, thanks for coming in.
Yeah. I'm hoping this is going to take long, because you're interrupting me for my every other Wednesday, and between you and I, like the other co-hosts, they're not that competent, so they do need me there. So can we hurry this up?
I appreciate you're in a hurry, and but I have something I need your help with. The challenges, you bring an awful lot to this. You're absolutely a valued member of the team, and your experience is fantastic and contributes hugely to Every Other Wednesday and to the work that we do. The challenge is for us that if you speak over the top of other people, then what happens is they don't give their contribution, and that's not good for the wider audience, for our clients, and for the team dynamic, because people will be intimidated. And I wondered what you thought about that.
It's not everyone. Like, I don't speak over the guests. Like, just like Well, I mean, have you heard Richard ramble on and on? Like it can be a bit much. I'm actually creating more value for the people.
So there's a challenge here in we would need to make sure that everybody has an opportunity. But if there are sections where, say, for example, let's have a look at how we might deal with this, because in the end, what we need is everybody feels that they can contribute their expertise, and we need everybody's expertise, including, of course, your own. However, if there are ways that we can work around this, but that is a non-negotiable that the team does feel able to speak out with you there in the room as well. What do you think we do about this? What do you think's causing your frustration, and where might we go from here?
I don't know. Like the thing is, I mean, when they're saying stupid stuff, like I don't want the audience to have to listen to that stuff. And if I'm such, I mean, you're saying that, I know what I'm talking about, so let me talk about it. I mean, what would they suggest? Do you want me to not talk? You want me to skip some episodes? I have no idea.
So let's have a look at this, because if you use the word stupid to people, as you did in the team meeting last week, then that does put people down. And not doing that is a non-negotiable. We have to have respect. It's one of our values, and we have to make sure that that is maintained. And I'm sure you understand that. Check.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess so. I'm gonna, after we're done this call, I'm gonna go talk to my mentor, Simon Cowell, and see what he has to say about this.
So by all means do, but let's get back together again and tell me what I can do to make this work for you. So if there's some ideas, like maybe you want to skip out of the rest of the meeting if you feel that you've done your piece, or whatever it is, but come up with some ideas, because we have to have this as a collaborative way of working together from the team, and everybody's voice and everybody's expertise contributes to that, including, of course, your own. But we just need a way through it, and we need some suggestions. So I need your help with this.
Okay, whatever.
Let's meet up again. When should we meet up again? And when do you think you might have had a chance to think it through?
I don't know. Give me a few days. I want to talk to Jeff and Richard as well. So let's what is it? Today's Wednesday. Let's connect Friday. Even
Super, let's do that.
Bring me some Easter eggs.
Hey, you were a tough cookie.
All right. Well, let's see.
Let's ask the audience.
Should have picked me, Anna. I would have been an easy one.
But
hey, I don't like.
By the way, so if I can give some of my perspective
please.
on that, and I felt diffused. Like I almost wanted to get angry, but you weren't giving me a reason to, right? You weren't opposing me. You were kind of, that's not true. You were opposing me in a way that wasn't confrontational. So you're saying you're being an idiot. Here's why, but obviously not using those words. And I was like, but, and you're like, okay, that's fine. And it's the calming that it's, it's taking the temperature down rather than rising it up. And that's, I guess, what the default is when we're having those difficult conversations, because we go into them feeling, oh no, and then we get our backs up against the wall, and then we take a emotional reactionary approach as opposed to a more calm stoic approach. And although, again, we've said this, there's frameworks, but we don't want to make it robotic. It has to still have a human element to it, but you still need a very structured conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Are we, Richard?
I took some. Go ahead, Anna.
No, you're reading the chat, and I was wondering if there were some ideas from the chat too.
Well, I am. Carol shares that what caught her attention was you telling Sanjay he could step out if he wanted to. It was very diplomatic the way you said that. It wasn't confrontational. It wasn't ugly. I made some notes and again, folks, this was unscripted. This was unrehearsed, but I took some notes of things that stood out for me. Very early on in the conversation, you said what we need in the end, which that works well with my brain, my way of thinking. Okay, just tell me what we need to, where do we need to go with this? You were clear about that. A couple of times you mentioned non-negotiables, which again is very clear. There's not a lot of room for interpretation with that. And you linked those non-negotiables to the values of the organization, which I thought was helpful. And then you said, what can we do that would make this work for you? Come up with some ideas. And you had a specific time for following up. Because I think sometimes these things, okay, we're going to do something, but when? And we get on with the press of the daily routine, and it just gets away from us.
Yeah,
And
Rob,
that's
Rob says, the absence of but in Anna's approach spoke to me. You're valued, but that would give it all away, he says. So I like that as well.
and one of the things that I found personally challenging was you're putting it on me. What can we do about it? And so I don't know. Like I that's not true. I mean, again, because this was all made up. If I had emotional skin in the game, I probably would have something to say about that. But I felt kind of a bit frozen on that. It's like so I'm more curious as a question for Anna. Obviously, you've had these conversations in the past. Do people typically have an answer?
So it was following these Cedar steps, and of course one of the steps is what action are you going to do. And I was trying to demonstrate that quite often people need to think about it. They can't come up with an idea right there and then. And I want to come back to Carol's point. There's a but hanging there. And that is to give people a chance to sort of marinate a little bit, to see, this is first time I've really thought about this. I'll give a chance, but it does place that burden on you to do some of that thinking if you have a date in the diary, which is good. Doesn't mean I don't have some. And one example I came across from financial services was the end result was that the diva sat in a totally different office block to everybody else in the middle of London, just because that was the way that they could only get them to work together. Carol, you're right. There is a bat hanging there, and I was trying very hard not to use it, and I think the recording might show that I did use it once, but we do need to do something about this. Sanjay was quite tough in using language like stupid, and that's emotive. And I need to be able to express clearly enough that there is a but without going down that path. It is something has to change. We can't do this. And keep going because the rest of the team are damaged by it. So I don't know if that helps answer.
Some things that again are non-negotiable that you have to be super pointed about.
Deal
We've got
breaker.
time for one last reaction to a comment. That's from Rob, and he says, any tips for dealing with the divas who very apparently need to be puffed up without being disingenuous?
So great question, Rob, and I would always suggest, Sanjay, you could answer this probably because you're sort of mathematically inclined, is to say focus on the contribution they make. So we were able to achieve this through you being on the team. That matters, and show it in terms of hard output. Some people like praise or being reassured that they're a valued member of the team. I suspect, Sanjay, you'd prefer that to be hard data. What do I bring? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think that, to Rob's comment, that everyone does something well, right? It's even the broken clock is right twice a day kind of thing. So don't be disingenuous. I have a anaphylactic allergy to being disingenuous. I don't like to do it. I don't like to say, "Oh, I love your hair," when I don't love your hair. If I hate your hair, I'm not going to talk about your hair. I'm going to talk about, "Oh, I like your shoes," because I like your shoes. So I think it's a bit about creativity. If someone needs something, there is always something there. To your point about the hard data and stuff, I think so. It depends on the personality. And there are times where I want facts and numbers, and other times where I don't. I just want a hug. And I think it depends on the mood of the person. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's about probabilities. If I know nothing about you, but I know you are an engineer and you read stats for fun, then yeah, I'm going to try to come up with hard data because that's the default, because I think it's a higher probability of connecting with you. I'm not going to start with the hug.
I think part of it too, though, is
I have some hard
understanding
data,
what-
and that is we've got less than a minute left.
I
Go
know.
ahead, Jeff.
just understanding what motivates the other person is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm motivated differently, I know, than Sanjay or Richard. So just figuring out what that motivation is, you're not manipulating, but you can adapt would be the word before.
Yeah,
That's it
just
for me.
ask people. Just
Yeah.
ask people. How do you like feedback? How often? How does it work well
Yeah.
for you? Just set it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Anna, this was as delightful, even more so than I anticipated. This was just so full. Wow, what a fast 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I want to make sure everybody knows that they can go to oilintheengine.com. Yes, there are two E's in the middle. Oilintheengine.com. You can read about Anna's work, about her book. And here's the great thing. Go to the tab that says resources, and there are some conversation guides that you can just straight up download from there. Others that she's going to ask for your email, and then she will email you something. So please take advantage of that. It's a great resource. Anna, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Please,
Next time we're together.
Join me on LinkedIn for the tough conversations. They're not on the website.
Oh, that's right.
But
On LinkedIn, yes. Go,
Yeah.
Look for Anna Wildman on LinkedIn. Right.
Absolutely. And the
Okay.
next every other Wednesday we're having at her house, right?
There you go. There you
The
go.
weather's good. No rain.
Actually, I'll be very close to that the following week. But
Can I just
Yeah.
point out
we
that
are.
Can I just point out quickly, Anna is a regular at the show
Audience member.
and chosen to be our guest host, which any one of you can do. So please remember that. Keep that in mind. Richard, you want to close us
Yeah.
out?
Okay, so we're going to see you again on April the 30th, because that is every other Wednesday. See you then, everyone. Thanks so
Bye,
much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Happy Easter.
Thanks, Anna.
Happy Easter.